Hey guys, what's happening everybody? My name is Spectrolyte, and today I'll be running Resident Evil 2 Remake with the category of Claire A on Standard mode. Resident Evil 2 is one of my favorite games to speedrun. It's actually the first game that I learned to speedrun. And yeah, I hope you enjoy. Today we'll be going over some of the speed tech and just an overview of what the game has to offer. So here we start off at the gas station. Just like a little background on Claire, her story, why she's traveling towards Raccoon City, is in search of her brother Chris Redfield. If you are familiar with the Resident Evil series, you encounter Chris Redfield for the first time in the first game. And here you play as his sister. So we're gonna go run to the back, grab the key so we can leave the back room of the gas station, and here you see Frank. Goodbye, Frank. He's the first zombie you encounter, and we're just gonna use the key and examine the key twice for good measure. And we're gonna take a stroll down the snack aisle. No snacks today, we're kind of a bit of a hurry. And then we encounter Leon, comes to our rescue. And in the meantime, we actually end up in the middle of Raccoon City whilst escaping the gas station, and we get separated from Leon. So they decide to meet up at the Raccoon Police Department, and so we're gonna make our way towards there now. And a common question I always get while running this category is, why do you intentionally take damage as Claire? And well, it's actually pretty cool. Albeit it's a bit more dangerous running around in caution, but it does make Claire run faster, and over the course of the run it could save about 2 to 3 minutes. So it's a significant time save, but it makes your run a little bit more risky. So you would need to take some safety items if you feel like you need them. And here we're just going to beeline for the Raccoon Police Department. And finally enter. Boom, double doors. And the sign says do not enter, but we're gonna go in there anyway. Oh, I mean, it says keep out. You know, same thing. And we're just gonna do some little exploring. And actually prior to this, the reason why we're going this direction is because if you look at the security cameras, there's actually a police officer who's going to be in trouble in the next section. So let's see if we can go help him out.
Oh my god. Open up! Hurry! Open up! Open this goddamn
And spoiler alert, he doesn't make it. But he does give us a nice notebook. And what you see there is I did a little pause. And the reason for that is it actually allows the zombie to come through the door a little quicker. So you're not saving, or I'm sorry, you are saving a few seconds there. You're not waiting around for him to barge through the door. And that's because when you run this category for the speedrun rules and the auto splitter, it's because when you pause the game, the timer doesn't actually continue. So pauses are allowed up to a cap, but in that instance, it is a strategic pause. And we meet Marvin, who gives us our first knife, and we use it to open the electrical box and continue exploring the RPD. And so, as I mentioned earlier, we got a little notebook from Elliot, who is the police officer that unfortunately didn't make it. Maybe if he, wasn't yelling at us, we could have moved a little bit faster and saved him. But that little notebook is actually an indicator of the main objective of the RPD for the first half, or yes, the first half of the RPD. And the main objective is to collect medallions so that way we can open the secret room to get out of the RPD. And you may have noticed, actually towards the beginning of the run, you'll see me... Oh, we got bit here. But that's okay, we're still in caution. You'll see me aim with my gun. And that's because when you run this game, the fastest way of moving upstairs is actually with stair skating. So stair skating is, instead of making your character run up the stairs continuously, making them step on each and little every step on the staircase, you actually make them skate. So you make them skip some steps, and that's a lot faster. And so we enter the library, which is a very notorious part of the RPD. A lot of runs die there, but we got lucky with the placement, and we're gonna see ourselves get the first medallion. And so these medallion puzzles are actually RNG. The solutions are always the same, but the placement, the first placement of the medallions, the positions are always random. So you can get either one rotation for each of the tiles to get the medallion, or you might have to rotate a few more times. And we skip the helicopter crash scene, and we're gonna pick up these bolt cutters. And you'll see me do some menuing here, and the importance of menuing is actually really high in this game, because you want to have the items that you want to use in the closest vicinity of your cursor. So the way the menuing works here is the first quadrant of your menu is where you want your most important items to be. So that way it's quick access, quick to use. And here we're going to pick up the valve and the fuse, so that way we can get out of this area. And this will open the keep out electrical door. And to just reiterate the importance of stair skating, we know that stair skating is the fastest way to get up and down stairs. But you also see me ADS, or aim down sight, with the gun to make quick turns on corners, like I just did there. And that's because lines are very important in this game. The shortest line is, you know, a straight line. You don't want any ugly curves like just how I did there. But that's a little bit necessary because that zombie does like to play peekaboo sometimes. So we were lucky he wasn't just around the corner. He might have grabbed us there, but we got by. And we actually call that zombie Bagels. There's quite a few zombies in this game who are run enders, and they have special names. So the one that we saw in the vest just a little bit ago, his name is Bagels. The police officer zombie we just ran past, he's a little chunky. We call him Donuts. And that liquor, this is more recent. We call him Bartholomew. It's a term of endearment, but you know, sometimes they can be a pain. So you see me look back here at the liquor instead of running forward, and that's because it's it manipulates the liquor behavior. They get a little shy when you put the camera on them. And the same thing here. The solutions are the same, but the starting positions of the tiles are different. Gonna pick up the knife here, and sometimes there's a zombie here, sometimes not. More often than not, you'll have one of the other two zombies standing in the way. We don't have a name for him, but sometimes you can run by him, sometimes you can't. I like to shoot him as a safety strat. And here we're gonna pick up more inventory slots. We like inventory slots. More items, more bullets to carry. Put down the detonator, and here we just did a little door glitch. So when you open and close that door, it prevents the shelf from falling down. You'll see it again when we run back. Getting the final medallion to get into the secret room, and the liquor will run towards us, but we're gonna take the safe line. And that's the shelf that would have fallen if we didn't open the door there. So it's a much faster route, because you would have had to put back up the shelf whilst trying to survive that liquor, and we know that liquors are no bueno. So the thing with liquors is they're very powerful enemies, and we'll see them again in a little bit. We can talk about that a little bit later. But for now, we're gonna put in the 3 medallions to enter the secret room that Elliot wrote down in his notebook. And we will be encountering our first boss. You'll see a lot of runners refer to the bosses in this game as G or Birkin. It's G because in this game, Resident Evil 2, the virus is called the G virus.
Hello? Hello?
And Birkin, well, because you'll find out later down the line that the boss you're fighting is actually the scientist that created the G virus. And so here you'll see me lower my graphics quality down to 50%, and there's an important reason why we do that. And that's because the knife actually does more damage the higher the FPS you have. So right now I'm running at 120 FPS. That is one of the categories officially on Speedrun.com. And the reason why you want to lower it is because you want a consistent 120 frames for maximum damage.
This way.
And here we're gonna go and beat Sherry in a foot race. Boom. Eat my dust. And to go back to the knife strats. The reason why the higher FPS does more damage with the knife is not because the knife itself does more damage, it's because more hits register with each swipe. So to give you an indication, running at 120, one swipe at 120 equals maybe, let's say, like 8 slashes on console. So FPS is a big deal.
My parents are gone. It's just me and my brother.
And here we're gonna go and see if we can open this parking garage. We have Sherry with us at this point. And Sherry is gone. And that's because in that cutscene, she actually gets kidnapped by the chief of police. His name is Chief Irons. And so, in an effort to get Sherry back, we need to go follow them. But first, we gotta encounter these lickers first. So, I'll explain a little bit about lickers. Lickers are very powerful enemies, but they are blind. So they can't actually see me. They can hear very well though. So typically you would want to just walk by them, and that's the safest thing to do. But this is speedrunning, not speedwalking, so we just ran by them. We just kept a tight line. They have a specific behavior. And here again with the camera manipulation. Unfortunately I did get hit here, but that's okay. We have a safety herb. That's what it's for. And here, this is probably, in my opinion, like one of the risky skips here. So we quick turn and aim downwards so that way the licker doesn't catch us when he lunges forward. It saves a bunch of time. There's a safer way to do it. That one was a little risky, but we made it. The safer way is just to walk backwards, but it's just a little bit slower. And here, using the diamond key that we found at the morgue, we're gonna power the elevator. And surprise! Look, this elevator looks familiar, right? So I wonder where we're going. Ah, another place in the RPG. And this is actually going to lead to Chief Iron's office. He has quite the liking for animals. I think he picked up taxidermy. So you'll see a lot of his creations here. I admired the bear. I got stuck on it a little bit. And here we're gonna pick up the heart key, which we're gonna use to open the next door that leads into a new section to the RPD. And so here, the main objective of RPD 2 is to obtain 2 electrical parts. So that way we can grab the parking garage key card. And there we need to shoot that zombie, open this door. And here we gotta be quick. So pick up the electrical parts, pick up the knife, and we're out. If you take too long, that zombie that we just shot will become unstunned and will probably grab you. So timing and quickness is key in that section. Here we're gonna go down and we need to put out the helicopter fire or else we can't go through that door or we're gonna get stuck. So the lever is down here. There's 2 zombies down here, but we pay them no mind. Running back. Stair skating, ADS. And just to touch on stair skating, again, it's not a mash. It's kind of like a rhythm. So you kind of have to keep a beat in your head. And here you'll see me aim at the wall but not actually shoot, and that's because there's a specific distance you need to be away from Mr. X. And that's the first encounter, and we just run by. Say hello, how do you do? Good day, and goodbye. So Mr. X is actually... you can't kill him. He'll just follow you around like a lost puppy for the rest of the game. And you don't want to be caught by him. So here we're just gonna keep running. And the reason why we're going this way is because we need to get the jack to move the shelves in the library, so that way we can get to the second electrical part. Unfortunately I got hit here again, but that's why we have safety herbs. That's one of the drawbacks of running in caution, but that's alright. That's what herbs are for. We go zoom zoom and caution. Oh, we got licked here, and that's alright. We're still in caution. Here you'll see me do the same strat as I did in our first encounter with Mr. X. And we're out of there. The worst case scenario is that he meets you at that door and he throws you. But that didn't happen, so we're good. And you'll see me shoot the bullet at the floor, and there's a good reason for that. The reason being, it actually baits out the zombies from the library. They're drawn to the sound of the bullet. They'll eventually realize that Claire is inside the library, but it's just enough time for her to move the shelves twice. And the reason why I want to move it twice is because, well, the floorboard is broken, and so we use the shelves as the floor. And here there's going to be a zombie. We want him to lunge at us but not grab, and that was pretty perfect right there. Really lucky. Sometimes he'll grab you, but again, be good. And there's this very specific line you want to take here. Not here, but before, to make that zombie lunge at you, is just on that line where the flooring changes. And that'll make him lunge at you, but he will just barely miss. And here we're switching the gears because there's an electrical part that's going to fall when the bell tolls.
That worked.
And here we get the second electrical part and we are out of there. Sometimes the zombie will sleep. He realizes we're here, so we're gonna shoot him. Goodbye, sir. Gonna go through this locked door, and you'll probably recognize this place. It's actually the same room that we started in RPD2. Grab the bullets here before we head to sewers. But before sewers, we get to play as somebody else in a little bit. I'm sure you can guess. And here we will be inserting the electrical parts that we've collected. And again, this solution is always the same. There's no RNG. Even with the starting positions for the electrical puzzles are always the same. So if you memorize the key presses and get really fast at them, you can do it with your eyes closed. Okay, and we play as Sherry! Wow! And so you'll realize she's in a different location. She actually got kidnapped by Chief Irons and put into the orphanage. And he's kind of holding her hostage. So she's going to escape. And that puzzle right there, again, the solution is always the same. But the positions of the blocks are always different. The rotation number of the blocks is always different, I should say. But you will always put the first block in this third slot. So this section is pretty, it's the same every time, but there's our little time saves you can do here and there, and I'll explain that in a little bit. So Sherry's running animation is actually kind of clunky. And she opens doors incorrectly too. I don't know if anybody noticed that, but
That must be the door out of here.
people don't use doorknobs in this game. And just there you saw me do a little Sherry shimmy, I like to call it, where you spam
Oh, no.
AD, and that's because it's kind of like stair skating. So that way you're canceling the animation of Sherry's walk, so she goes down the steps faster. And once we grab the key, Chief Irons is gonna find us out and get really, really angry. Again, Sherry using her forearms to open the doors. I do not recommend anybody trying this at home. You will not open the door and your forearms will probably hurt. And now we're going to play a little game of hide and seek. So prior to this, Sherry actually is able to escape Iron's grasp by throwing acid in his face. So he is visually impaired right now because of the acid burn. But here we're going to play hide and seek, squat, and hold our breath, wait for Irons to do his thing. The pathing for Irons is always the same. He'll always go the same direction. So it's just a matter of you remembering which way to go. There have been numerous times where I was just a little tad off. He saw the toe of my shoes, and he caught me. But you know, we'll do our do better hiding. He's looking. Sherry's getting nervous, but don't you worry. We're gonna get out of here.
Bitch gotta be here somewhere.
And here you'll actually see me run. You're supposed to hide to this table now, but you're gonna see me hide in plain sight right next to this green block. And he doesn't see us. And the reason for that is because this specific block with the semicircle, the green semicircle, is programmed as a full wall. So we're actually out of sight from him. And the reason why you want to stand here instead of under the table is because it's closer to the door where you can grab the key to get out. And you'll see that just in a little bit when Iron stumbles his way towards the bathroom.
It burns.
Grab the key. There we go. Keep the running momentum going. And we're going to attempt to outrun this guy.
Fuck is my key?
He sees us now, but before he didn't, so not very good at hide and seek. And again here, spamming AD to cancel the running animation for Sherry. And you would think that we would go out the front door, but if you use the key on the front door of the orphanage, you're going to find out that it's chained, so we don't do that. We want to immediately go to where we're supposed to.
Get over here, you little bitch.
And that's the end of the series section. And now we gain control back of Claire, and now we have the parking key
Just you wait,
in our possession. Or key card, I should say. And so we're gonna make our way back to the parking garage, pick up the herb on the way for safety. And so our next task is to actually go to the orphanage and see if Sherry is okay. Use the parking key card. And Mr. X will show up without his hat. Very not dapper. And the reason why I walked up to him there is to bait out the punch, because when he punches, he's kind of on a cooldown. So it's just enough time for us to get away. And here you'll see that we've escaped the RPD. And if you're a fan of the series, you'll recognize a gun shop just to the right there. And here we're gonna shoot the zombie in the face. So that way we can pass safely, stair skate, and run past. Showing the scenery, complete darkness. And here we don't have to pay mind to this zombie. She doesn't realize that we're here until much later. Go over the dumpster. And here you'll hear a lot of barking. There's a bunch of dogs here. So dogs in this game are pretty sporadic. There's a running joke in the community where we say dogs are free. Admittedly, at first I thought that meant like, oh, the dogs are free to roam, like they have freedom and stuff, but free is not in that sense. Free meaning that they shouldn't give you any trouble. Typically they don't, but on the off chance that they do, I do like to save that herb just in case they bite me, because their behavior can be random. But luckily we got out unscathed and we're at this orphanage now.
Hello? I have the pendant!
And the pendant that Claire is referring to is actually the pendant that Sherry has. And we'll find out later what that pendant is used for, and we actually see Iron's he's no longer with us. And that's because prior to this, Birkin actually saved Sherry. And you might be asking why Birkin, the boss of the game, or G, is saving Sherry. And there's some plot development that happens in this section where you find out that the scientist that created this G virus is actually the father, or rather the parents, of Sherry. So Sherry is just this lost girl, got caught in the middle of this, and her parents are not there to help her, but luckily for her, Claire shows up. And in that section before, they encounter the tyrant, Mr. X, and Birkin actually gets rid of him for them. But unfortunately, Sherry and Claire get separated, so in an effort to find her, we're going to search the sewers. Dun dun dun. Sewers are pretty notorious too, mainly for one type of enemy. There are zombies in here, but there's something much bigger lurking. Let me get on with it. And here we're going to drop down, and this is officially the start of sewers.
Hold on, Sherry. I'll be right there.
So our main objective here, we'll come back to this room at the end. The main objective here is to save Sherry. We actually see her in the garbage disposal, but the door to access that is locked. And the only way to open it is to retrieve these plugs that are in the shape of chess pieces. And so we're going to explore the sewers to find them. And they're kind of hidden throughout, but we'll see. We'll get them. Don't worry. Don't you worry. And here we stair skate down. We have to hug the left side so that way we don't trigger both zombies. So that way we just have a little bit of window of time to run past without aggroing this guy in the blue. Ooh, and we see our first G-adults. We won't pay him any mind right now because we go zoom zoom and caution. But we'll see him and his brothers and sisters a little bit later down the line.
What the fuck?
Here we'll pick up more inventory slots. And we are going to get our first chess piece. It's the rook. So the placement of the puzzle pieces are always the same. There are slight differences between the A and B scenarios. And the solutions are actually different between the A and B scenarios. Here we see our first zombie. I run towards him to kind of bait him out and then swing to the right to dodge. And here we deemed this the horrible room. Especially in my first casual playthrough, I had a very hard time with this room. Reason being because there are a bunch of G-adults. And these G-adults are huge. They are massive. They take up almost the whole pathway. And you'll see right now. But I guess it's not too horrible now when you learn to speedrun it. So we're gonna walk up. He's sleeping. Wakey wakey. Alright. Run past. And we're gonna take a slightly wider line because we don't want to get grabbed by that second G-adult. And since Claire has higher movement speed and caution, that's why we're able to do that. If we were in the fine health state, we probably wouldn't have made that. So here again, this is one of the really movement intensive rooms in the game. Lots of quick turning, lots of stair skating, tight corners. And here we got the queen plug, and up here we got the king. But before we leave with those two, we gotta grab a really strong weapon. Probably the safest weapon in the game. It's called the spark shot. And it's really powerful because you can stun enemies with it. And here you'll see me do some inventory management. We don't have enough space. Discard the ammo. We don't really need that for the rest of the game. Solve the puzzles to get outside of this room. And that zombie we encountered, he has 3 options of his positioning when he falls down from the little balcony there. He can either stand up and face us like he did earlier. He can stand up and face away from us, which is, you know, pretty good. But the best one is when he falls and he just lays there. But we didn't get that. And coming out, as you can see, this spark shot is super powerful. Stopped the massive tank of a G-adult. And here, you can't see him yet, but he'll pop up real soon. Boom. And there's a certain timing to getting just enough space to run past him. The timing is typically 1 and 2 when you shoot. Or I guess it depends on how fast you count, but that's the rhythm I go for. And here we'll run past. And unfortunately here we had to use a grenade to save our skin. So the cool thing about some of these weapons you have in the game are, while you can use the nades and knives to do damage, you can also use them as a safety tool. so that way you can prevent damage from happening to your character. Here I had a little bit of trouble with the item box, but typically you would just store the T handlebar and the diamond key. And here we're going to solve the puzzle. There's some notes that are left by some of the workers down here. Rearranging the plugs. And we will see the door open. And so now we can access the garbage disposal
Sherry.
where Sherry is.
On my way.
But alas, the power is off, so we gotta go turn it back on. And we're gonna encounter another puzzle, a little mini one. Doing the gauges for the electrical unit. And we will want to walk out, but surprise, boss fight. So we encountered G again, and there I did a little skip. And the reason why I did that is because on the first phase, or I should say pre-phase of this fight, G is actually kind of playing like the claw machine in this room. But you can skip that entire section by throwing a nade in that general area where I threw my grenade. And it does about 6% damage to G, and that allows us to go to the next fight. Here we're going to drop down, and the way you win this fight is knocking off G. So there's two types of RNG here. We got the 3-hit RNG. We're gonna walk up and knife him. Nice juicy knife. So with knifing in this game, you want to have as much surface area to slice, because that means you're doing the most damage. You'll hear a nice vibration sound coming out from the knife. And here, you'll see me do some menuing, and that's because we want
Have I got a surprise for you?
to cancel the knife switching animation. And the way you do that is by equipping a new knife and then equipping a firearm. And here we bait him out, hit him with the crane, and the fight is done. Same thing with image quality. I think my game froze just a little bit there, but we are good to go. And typically for that fight, you would have to hit him twice with the crane for him to fall off. But there is a way to hit him once, like how I did there. And you could do that by getting his HP below 50%. So as long as his HP is at least 1 below 50%, you're good to go, and one crane hit will kill him. And we finally retrieve Sherry, and we find out that she is actually transforming. She's infected with the virus. And we have actually a conversation with her mother, and she says, go to the labs and there should be something there. Like an antiviral agent. So we're gonna go to the cable car. And we can access this now because Sherry has the wristband for access.
Okay, better check everything. There's no
And we
turning
are
back.
entering into the final stage of the game.
This tram is bound for Nest.
It is
Do not
probably
exit until
the
the
most
final
difficult part of the
destination.
game because enemies are powerful, there are lots of them, and typically your DA is a little higher here.
I'm getting
It's
a
not
check.
as important
Just hold on,
for
Sherry. It's okay.
the A scenario as it is for the B scenario, but just to touch on what DA is, if you ever plan on running this game or are interested in knowing more about the technicalities, DA stands for difficulty adjustment. And it's a numerical value determined by the game, and it's an indication about how well you are doing so far in the game. The higher DA you have, the better you are off in the game. Either you haven't taken damage for a long time, or you have a lot of supplies in your possession. So if I have, let's say, 100 bullets in my inventory, my DA is going to be much higher than if I were to only have 10 bullets. The same logic here. Entering the cafeteria. Before I entered the cafeteria, I shot the door. Or to the right of the door, rather. Because there is an armored zombie on the other side. And he is kind of a raid boss because he does have armor all over his body except his head. And here I think we hear him scream or growl. So that means he's awake. The shot didn't work on him. Most of the time it does. And here we're gonna do a knife giveaway. Congratulations, good sir. And like I said before, you can use knives and nades as a safety measure. And it came quite in handy there. That's why I don't like breaking my knives on my on my boss fights. So you see some top tier runners break their knives on purpose, and that's just to relieve some of the inventory space without having to go in and discard. But for me, I like to keep them as a safety measure for situations like that. And now we have access to Nest, which is Umbrella's lab. Right below the Raccoon City. And here our main objective is to obtain the antiviral agent. So that way we can save Sherry. But before we do that, of course, in classic Resident Evil fashion, we gotta do other stuff first. So you notice outside that window there is a big plant thing there. There's overgrowth, there's roots everywhere, vines. And that there's an employee that's actually caught up in the plants outside, so we have to find a way to get rid of that plant. So that way we can have higher access to obtain the antiviral agent in the labs. So again, that puzzle solution is always the same. And here we will be obtaining the empty cartridge and going to fill it up with the solution that we need to kill off this plant. Here we're going to, there's a little puzzle here. You have to get the correct levels of the solution. The solution is always the same. We go by the button presses here. And here we make a little detour. I typically don't do this because I'm supposed to have a nade, but since we got grabbed on the way out from sewers, we have to pick up that nade. Typically there's an IV here, but luckily it was free. So we just run past, go down the ladder. And the reason why you need this nade is to take precautionary measures so that way all these zombies don't pop up later. There's about, I think, 4 of them that wake up. And here, camera manipulation for the liquor. He drops down from the ceiling, go through the door. He's not a problem yet. Here again, stair skating, quick turning. Fastest way to get up these set of stairs. And here, we're going to grab the signal modulator. That way we can turn on the power. Because the solution is not enough. We gotta freeze it. Go to flash to stun the 2 zombies on these stairs. Stair skating down. And we made it. Nice. While the zombies are dead, there are 2 lickers, and as they both scream, run past, I grabbed the herb for safety, and we got the godlike RNG there. Because you'll see why. When they both jump on the ceiling, and you throw a flash at them, they fall down like flies. They're not dead, they're just stunned, but it is the best RNG you can get for this section. And the signal modulator is also a mini puzzle. The solutions are the same as well. So now that we have the power back on, we can
Welcome
access
back, Dr. Lee. You
the
have
2
5
rooms
new
here
messages.
on this floor of the lab.
Damn.
Go into the freezer.
Should have packed my.
Claire's going to say she should have packed her parka. And we're gonna freeze the solution.
Parka.
Or cool the solution.
Cooling complete.
Cooling complete. And here we're gonna go out the way we came. It is a little risky here. You kind of have to YOLO this. Quick turn, look at them. For the camera manipulation, for them to get a little bit shy. And we're out unscathed. A lot of runs have died at that door where they get slashed last minute, but fortunately for us, we did not get that. And here we're going to use a spark shot because these IVs are such a pain to deal with. You either have to shoot one of their bulbs, which requires some precise aiming
Dispensing
to stun them, and you can't really kill them. At least with the weapons that we have. So the best option is just to stun them and run past. These enemies are particularly scary because they do a one-shot kill. There's no other attack pattern for these guys. They will grab you, and if you get grabbed and have no sub-weapons, it's an instant kill. So here we get the higher access for the wristband, and we're gonna make our way out. There are 2 IVs in this room. Typically you only have to deal with that first one. The second one is usually far off enough. You don't have to say hello. And now we can access the wing where the antiviral agent is. So we're gonna see Claire unlock. I believe is the east wing? You know, sometimes you run a game for so long, but little tidbits and details, they kind of slip by. We're almost done with labs. We're going to grab a grenade for a enemy later down the line. Again with a signal modulator. Turn on the power on this floor. We're almost to the antiviral agent. And I menued there just to make sure I have a full knife equipped. And yeah, you can guess why. We'll be using that knife very, very, very soon. Antiviral agent, and Sherry's pendant was actually the one that unlocked that.
Gotta get back to Sherry.
And here we will encounter the 3rd iteration of G. Probably one of my favorite boss fights, because he just looks so dang cool. Here, instant shot to pop 3 of the eyeballs. Here, 1, 2, and the back eye 3. That 3rd shot is pretty precise. There's a small window for it, and we got it. And here we're going to knife his back because he has a lot of surface area there. Lots of damage being done. And same thing, knife switching. Equip the knife, equip the firearm, and skip the animation. And you don't want your knife to break because that kills time, and you want to spend that time slashing him as much as possible. He typically do nice for this fight. And you want to kill him before he starts doing his animation for the 2nd phase. So that was actually a 1 cycle for that boss.
Target has been neutralized. Ending
And the reason why you want to 1 cycle him is, well, 1, you save time. 2nd is because once he starts walking away and he'll kind of destroy the boss arena. Once he starts doing that, he has iframes. So even if you were to kill him whilst him doing the animation, it's it's futile. You will lose a lot of time there. So it's best just to one cycle him, and that's a strat that is widely used. Although now there is actually a knife only strat for that fight. It is much more difficult, but it can be done. And here we have the admin access. We give Sherry the antiviral agent, and
I don't want to rush you, but
he's okay now. At this point the lab is collapsing, so we gotta go fast, gotta get out of here. And unfortunately, both of Sherry's parents did not make it.
let's get the hell out of here.
Here we're gonna ride the elevator down and have a heart-to-heart with Sherry. It's actually really cute. I'm a fan.
Attention. Self-destruct sequence initiated. Use the central elevator to evacuate immediately to the bottom level train platform. Attention. Self-destruct sequence initiated.
Claire? Yeah? Thank you for being so nice to me. For helping me. I'm really glad I met you.
I'm really glad I met you too, Sherry. But save your thanks until I get you out of this place.
And here we're like reaching the final level.
Attention.
Big old warning on the screen, and
Use the central elevator to evacuate immediately.
we will now see a little bit. The timer going to start off for the countdown. And here we hold the door open for Sherry. It's a minor time save, but I like to think of it more as an act of chivalry. And the timer starts now. Bunch of Ivies here, though they will wake up, but again, caution strats. We are fast enough just to run by. Sherry is shortly behind us. Hopefully she'll make it. And we're gonna run to this door and make Sherry appear right there. Wow, so fast. And while we wait for Sherry to open the door from the other side, we are going to get rid of some of our knives. Reason being, we want room in our inventory. So the way you do that is you break your knives on these Ivies that will fall. So the first one I managed to stun. The second one, I like to get purposefully grabbed because we're waiting around anyway. Boom. Knife giveaway. Congratulations, sir. And now we just wait for Sherry to open the door. And if you time it correctly, there's a minor clip that you can do through Sherry. I didn't get that in that instance. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. But it's just a minor time save. Little bits and pieces throughout the game allow for time save. And you know, if you're going for a world record, it's very important that you get those. But I think the most important things in this game, if you're wanting to run it, are movement and menuing. They're very important in this game. Lots of hidden time save in those things. Here we're gonna get the joint plug so that way we can power the train to get out of here.
Eight minutes until detonation.
Grab the minigun. Very ominous, very powerful weapon. I wonder what's gonna happen here. Surprise! Boss fight. This is actually the final boss of the game. This is the last iteration of G4, at least for this category. And you'll notice that I'm not knifing him. The reason is because... the reason is you actually beat this boss not by the amount of damage you do with knife, but because you need to pop all his eyeballs. So his eyeballs will regenerate. I get hit here, unfortunately. And that's why we have herbs. So you usually switch. You see me switch from my minigun to my knife and back to my minigun. The objective is to pop as many eyeballs as you can. And when he does this little animation, the fight is definitely over. He'll just kind of crawl back towards Claire, and at this point, you just want to keep shooting his eyeballs until it's GG. So that was Resident Evil 2 on Claire A Standard. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Again, my name is Spectrolyte, and I am a speedrunner on Twitch. You can find me at twitch.tv/Spectrolyte, on Twitter and Instagram as well.
We're getting out of here.
I am a fairly new speedrunner. Started speedrunning maybe a few months ago. I started with Claire A, and I do know a couple more categories for Resident Evil. I do run other games as well, so if you're interested, you know where to find me. Twitch.tv/Spectrolyte. I'll let the credits roll, or rather the final cutscene. And that's the end of Resident Evil 2 Claire A Standard. Thanks for watching. I actually beat this one. So that's really fun.
So what's the first thing you want to do when we get out of here?
I want to see where you live.
Good. 'Cause I take a shower.
Yeah.
Really? That bad? Oh yeah.
Claire,
Leon! It's so good to see you.
I told you we'd make it, didn't I?
You did.